Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, Refracted Curvature, 10th Man, Eli, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
Hello.
And Arwin, who I'll let in.
Good morning.
12,000.
Good to have you all. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle from a curved adjacent?
That's just silly.
It has I'll not repeat what I'm gonna do, what I did yesterday.
Please don't.
It has a built-in error that takes into account for the fact that you can't measure an angle with a curved line.
There are no angles from any curved surface.
Did you say the sphere Earth has got a built-in error?
Yeah, that's the argument that so far that I've heard.
It doesn't matter.
Hold on,
you can't get an angle from a curved surface.
Hold on 1 second, 10th. This is new. You didn't mention this in the pre-show. So you're saying that they've said, or how can I paraphrase that? They've conceded that they need a flat Earth elevation angle, and therefore that's just an induced error. Has that actually been disclaimed?
Not in that way. It was more that it's flat enough to get the angle, but the angle would be an error within an error.
Well, then you'd never get to your destination.
Wait, are you talking about yesterday?
Yeah.
The guy we were talking to, that he said well, first of, okay, yeah, let's start with that. So he said that the error of the because it'd basically be an acute angle. So he's like, well, the correction is what proves it's a globe. And I was just like, how? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I like that one too. So you have to correct it. So it's wrong. Okay. What are you correcting it to make it right? Did you ask them what they correct it to?
Well, that's what I said. Well, you're talking about a straight line going from not 90 to 90. That's the correction. So what do you mean that correction makes it a globe?
Correction implies that it's wrong. So once it's corrected, what's it corrected to?
$90, but
flat.
The precision
flat, horizontal, flat.
Right, but he said it wasn't precise, and the fact that it wasn't precise proves that it's a globe. But again, I
see. So he's fighting against celestial navigation as opposed to fighting against you, and he's saying celestial navigation has induced errors that aren't accurate. Therefore, Earth's a globe, because he's fighting against the flat Earth methodology of celestial navigation at that point. But he's then got to prove that celestial navigation's wrong and doesn't function, because he's not arguing against you at that stage, is he?
Sounds like
he didn't understand it, because when I said, well, if it's a globe, then how would you have the 90-degree angle to you?
You wouldn't.
And he thought that he was going. The circle was around him.
I didn't understand that
Is
the
what he
circle's
thought.
around the GP of the star. Well, he just doesn't understand the argument then.
Yep.
Nathan, I got 2 slides of masturbate on this.
But that was the red herring, though. The circle was part of the red herring that he was trying to use.
Okay, so 10th's got a diagram of the angle of elevation. Go ahead, 10th.
Right, so here it is, the observer. There's the object, say the sun. It's straight down would be its zenith. There's the box saying it's 90 degrees. And then this is how section works, through the line of sight, which in the triangle would be the hypotenuse. The object and the observer is that line. I mean, you can't get it any better than this. Then you go to the next slide. You can see how they show it in their own books.
So
Yeah, you got to be an idiot to not understand this.
Well, we've got a flat baseline in this direction in terms of the measurement of this, which I think is presumably going to be the sun by way of the drawing.
Yeah, it could be any star.
Sure, but it's not relevant to the point. The point being that at the zenith, you've got 90. Well, the only way you can have 90 is if this is a flat line between you and it. And then you draw a circle around it and its GP. You're trying to figure out where this is, your measurement point. Where am I? Yeah? Well, you start by measuring the angle to a star that is known as used for navigation. And what have you got? Well, you've got a flat baseline to it, regardless of its distance. So if you're measuring it 4,500 miles away, then you've got a straight, flat line between you and the base of that point below the star. Earth must be flat to do this.
I don't understand what they're not getting. If it's on a globe, you're not going to get any of this. What the hell's the problem here?
Denial, Neil. They're in denial. And so they're going to say anything to get their globe back. But Sexton cannot work on the globe. Needs a flat plane.
Shout out to...
Well, perhaps it's
Just one sec. Quick shout out to stopping traffic in my Rasta hat for joining as a penguin. Go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, perhaps it's not that it's everybody, because for the most part, most of the globe proponents are just parroting somebody else. So you'll have someone that they think is authoritative enough to speak well on the subject, and that would be like a sign. Well, what's his name? Who's spoken up other than Phil Bell, Protothad?
Right.
Yeah, these guys, and they'll put out some disinformation. And so when a person comes and says, well, that's because the circle is around you, it's their lack of understanding, because they've probably been shown another aspect as a red herring. I don't even know what the circle around you, I don't even know.
Well, even if there's a circle around you, who cares? None of it could happen unless it's on the plane.
Exactly.
But
Yeah, that's part of the red herring.
We had nothing for curved adjacent argument. Can we move on in housekeeping?
Well, one more. Show that last slide of the protractor. So this is how angles are measured. You see a curved surface that it could measure from, or up from horizontal. You see an arc of the protractor, but the origin is the center, and you need a flat baseline to get any of those angles. The Earth is that horizon, that flat baseline. That's where the observer is. That's where the vertexes are.
That's obvious. And it's coming from their own books. I don't get it, man.
Okay. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve? Shout out to Mike808 for hitting the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Thank you very much indeed.
No, there's no evidence for that because we live on the plane. And if there was, we would see it where we're supposed to see it based on their 3959 radius claim of a presupposed spherical Earth. And it's not where it's supposed to be. Earth curve never shows up where it's supposed to be. And whenever they say they see something, it's just optical, but it's not geometric, and they need theirs to be geometric.
What are you talking about? Ranty says the Blackpool Swan proves Earth curve.
He'll need a flat Earth to measure the elevation angles used in that claim.
That's correct.
They'll give you the
Blackpool's-
flat Earth. They'll give you the flat Earth in that.
Blackpool Swan is a pub in that part of the country, and if you drink too much, everything looks curved.
And if you mess with them in that pub, they'll break your arm.
Might hit you in the head with a pitcher.
No, you'll get glossed.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
None
So now we're
whatsoever.
moving. So now we're moving too.
No, in their books, they say you have to assume the Earth is motionless and the stars are moving. So even they don't want it.
Exactly.
They also say that we'll see Coriolis deflection. That would be us observing things drift away as we turn beneath them. Coriolis effect, because of a turning Earth. But we don't see that effect. Then we get told that we wouldn't expect to see that effect that the globe Earth claims is proving we spin. What do you know? Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
What is the
It's
sun?
over there.
It is, for me. Very nice today, it is, after all
Yeah,
those storms. Beautiful day.
Yeah, over here too.
No evidence for a distance of the sun.
I went out and built a bivouac today with my daughter. Then we roasted marshmallows on a fire and ate s'mores. Then I came into the
Nice.
show. It was very nice. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
You're going to need R for that, and they ain't got that.
Any evidence of the R value? That would be Earth radius.
You're going to need a molten iron core, and they ain't got that.
You don't need a molten iron core to have an R value, but I know what your sentiment is. You'd need Earth
Yeah,
to
I'm
be a
just having
sphere with all
fun.
their rhetoric for them to have a radius.
Yeah, just having fun.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
They say
you're gonna
gravity
need-
is the container.
You're gonna need at least 2 containers to attempt to demonstrate that.
Give me a
Gravity.
5 gallons of propane gravity tank, please.
Gravity is not a container. It's not even a force.
All you need is an area.
Did you say, are you, what, malaria?
All you need is an area.
An area? A contained area? You need something for the gas to develop pressure. That would be something to press upon. Not just an arbitrary area.
Are you saying there's no such thing as imaginary containers?
No. Physical containers that contain things are a vessel of some kind that has the ability to stop a gas particle from escaping, i.e. a wall for it to hit. That's a container.
Right. There can be imaginary containers, they just don't contain anything.
The description of what it does is in the title. It contains. Now they say, well, gravity contains the gas. No, gravity isn't even a force. It's a conceptual space-time medium in mathematics. It's not a container, and it doesn't contain gas. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Don't be silly.
Well, here's the problem. They're saying that we're not scientists.
I never
We have
claimed
no
to be
right
one.
to speak
Hold on.
on these
Sorry,
things.
who cares? I've never claimed to be a scientist. Anybody here claiming to be a scientist?
No.
No, I'm not religious like that.
No, not pseudoscientists, not in brackets science, where they have pseudoscience stories and religious rhetoric and just call it science. Not that kind of science. I mean, anybody here actually claim to have observed the natural phenomena, formulated a cause and effect relationship with if A, then B, and if A, not B, as the formulation for the cause, that they have assumed of the effect they observed in nature, and then went forth to perform systematic experimentation to validate that which they assumed caused the effect they saw in nature by actualization of their hypothesis. Has anybody here done that?
Well,
No,
that's a
no,
researcher.
but hold
Hold on a
on.
sec.
What
That's
they're
a
saying,
researcher. That's a researcher. That's not a scientist.
what they're saying is we have no right.
Hold on. Hold on, Neil. Just calm down. That a scientist could be anybody who's involved in that process. So I did discuss this with a couple of other people in that regard, because I had the same attitude. It's like, well, is it the guy who formulates the hypothesis? Well, you can ascribe genius to that person if they get it right. Could you say that the scientist is the guy who's actually physically varying and manipulating that which was assumed by another person in the hypothesis to be the cause? I would say yes.
All I'm trying to say is what they're saying is we have no right as normal people to contest what scientists have validated Earth is.
Well, they can just show it us.
Validated.
That's okay. We're not claiming to be scientists. We're saying, oh, right, you've got validation for what the scientists say they've got as proof of a sphere Earth. Can we see that? That's all we're saying. You say you've got science, yeah? We're being held to task for not being scientists. We're not claiming to be, but meanwhile, you've just gone straight into the fact that they say scientists who can't be challenged say Earth's a sphere and can prove it. Okay, that's why we asked for scientific evidence. Just ask for it for gravity. There isn't any. But pseudoscience, that would be a non-adherence to the scientific method detailed earlier. That would be cause and effect reasoning with systematic experimentation based on a natural phenomena. That's science. If you don't have that, and you call what you've got science, it's pseudoscience. And that's what the globe actually has. Shout out to Ray Stams for the super chat, and also another one. Thank you very much indeed for both of the super chats. Really appreciate your support. It's been a tough couple of months, I assure you. So I really do appreciate it.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate. Long time no see.
Yeah, you're getting docked.
I was told.
You got to get paid to get docked.
When are you going to pay me? I mean, what's going on? It's been ages.
You got to be a boat.
Oh, I pay you. Oh, that's
Yeah, when?
That's
When?
cool.
That's long overdue.
Oh shit.
Chocolate. You
I
got
don't
to be
know.
a boat to get docked.
Nobody's paying anybody. But smash the super chat if you want to support this channel.
Did I slip?
Can we move on?
You didn't get that one?
Yeah, puns aside, can we move on to any single viable hypothesis? as
Puns
detailed?
aside, with all this pseudoscience, a little punning will just get us happy, okay? Come on.
Okay, knock yourself out.
No.
No, I already did it.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Nobody in my field uses the scientific method. It's leaps of logic. It's seat of the pants. It's guesswork. Yay.
Spoken like a true pseudoscientist, Michukaki. End quote.
How can you enter into the scientific method if your description of the phenomenon you're observing is invalid?
Yeah, it's the Jedi mind trick of pseudoscientists to infer that they've got some part of the scientific method. That concludes the
Well,
housekeeping. Good stuff.
My question is, why did it take so long for these people to be challenged?
Because it's a... If you cast your mind back 300, 500, whatever many years, and you look at the same, and the church is in control, and the rhetoric of the time is the church rhetoric, well, then you'd say, why didn't anybody at the time rise up against the church? Well, at the time, there was consequences to that. Well, these days, there seems to be, in my view, a lack of consequences for us going against what is essentially the one world religion. What do I mean by that? Well, the philosophy turned religion of heliocentrism is, or has, permeated throughout the entire Western world, making its way further as well. Well, that is a religious belief. And religious beliefs are used to keep people under control. So if you challenge the method of control, what do you think happens? Well, for us now, I say there's a lack of that. Yeah, we're classed as fringe, but we're not punished. So that suggests something else is going on at the moment. I just don't know what. I don't know if somebody at some stage has said to themselves, we must have a contingency, we must have a backup plan that achieves the same ends. The religious worldview of heliocentrism, should it fail because the Earth is obviously, observably, measurably, navigatably flat, and people recognise that fact, what do we do then? Well, if they've already got that sorted, and it's better, or offers better control, or whatever it is they're, polishing it up with, then the heliocentrism's time is over. It needs to be relinquished for parallel universes, or string theory, or whatever they bullshit their way around the actual science of quantum mechanics. Whatever they've got lined up, you've still got to let the old rhetoric sort of fizzle out, haven't you? Well, I think that's what we're seeing. I'll just read out this super chat, and then if anybody wants to put their 2 pennyworth in, feel free. On a sphere, all tangent lines to zenith, always an obtuse angle. What are globers thinking? Why dip to get a different obtuse angle to zenith? Yeah, exactly, Ray. Roy, my bad. Yeah, brilliant. Indeed. And thank you very much for all the support.
I could take the position that what you're stating is a bit conspiratorial, because it implies that they know they're wrong. I don't think they do.
No, I don't mean... I suppose I did phrase it that way. I mean, in terms of the status quo, what societally is acceptable. Now, I can infer that they know at certain levels, but it would be just, like I say, picked apart as being conspiratorial. However, I can talk about what is actually happening, though, can't I? It's not conspiratorial to say that the information that we're disseminating is getting out there. I'm live right now.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Like with NASA, right? They don't necessarily have to know the Earth is flat to fake space.
No, not necessarily, but they know that... Okay, I gotcha. So what you're saying is, if you take Tim Peake as an example, when he's orchestrating his lies about being in a sky vacuum, he can't obviously go to a sky vacuum to film that, so he's got to fake it. So from that perspective, he knows he's lying about going to space, but does he know that the extension of the lie is that you've got a ball Earth beneath your feet when it's actually flat? Well, not necessarily. Doesn't change my position with regards to all astronauts claimed to have gone to space. Space is like saying you've been to Narnia. Anybody who claims to have actually gone to Narnia is instantaneously a liar when they claim to have footage of them there. Now, space is Narnia. It's the same. It's fake. It's not a real place you can go to. Anybody claiming to have gone there is, ipso facto, a liar. They know they haven't gone there.
Right, but that's speaking to my point, is that I don't think that they necessarily understand. It's like 500 years ago, they thought drilling holes in people's heads let the demons out. It doesn't mean that somebody at the top knew that that wasn't true and they just thought it was hilarious to drill holes in people's heads.
Can you show that trepanning didn't let demons out?
No, that's irrelevant. But what I'm saying is we can't show that they know it's not a sphere.
No, our argument in the context of flat Earth debate is that Earth isn't a sphere. And when we disseminate lies in regards to the space vacuum, well, that doesn't automatically imply that that person knows that, well, the reason we've got to tell people that we're flying out into space around a sphere, nudge, nudge. No, they don't necessarily know that. I agree.
So then the idea that this is a controlled release, they may just not perceive us as a threat.
That
No,
one
that's not
day
true
that,
either. No, that's not true. because they've very specifically said that they do see us as a threat in Congress. That's why I'm classified as fringe on YouTube.
Well, as a threat to the sphere, or as a threat as disinformation? Which one do they perceive you as?
Yeah, the latter. I see where you're going. I like it. Keep going.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, humanity doesn't know everything. And we've made assumptions to build worlds upon. It doesn't necessarily mean that even the people who get Nobel Prizes understand where they're wrong.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I saw a glimpse of that kind of notion that the people who are potentially disseminating lies, they don't know, and when they're confronted with the lie, it doesn't necessarily follow that they'll freak out or defend the globe. And I'm thinking specifically of somebody who's reasonably high profile here in the UK called Philip Schofield, and he's a daytime TV host. He used to be a kids presenter back when I was a kid. But he did an interview with Mark Sargent, and at the point of sort of concession, he kind of alluded to the idea that it might be flat, and if it is, well, c'est la vie. And his nonchalant attitude to it kind of really widened my eyes when he said it. I got a shout out from Mark when he did that interview. Thank you, Mark. National TV, and went around to a mate's house. Some guy called Mark Sargent mentioned you on the telly. I was like, I didn't know that. I don't have a telly, but thanks for letting me know. Anyway, my plug from Mark aside, the reaction from Philip Schofield was fascinating because his mainstream rhetoric is on national TV, and when he kind of nonchalantly said, well, it might be flat, you're like, bloody hell.
Right.
Go on.
Well, that's my point, that we always want to place this in the ideas that these powerful people at the heights of power are lying to us. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're as confused as all the rest of us are, and they're almost as powerless as we are sometimes.
Okay, let's talk about Masons then, because in the case of Freemasonry, I've only ever spoken to Chris Monk, who is claimed to be ex-Mason, and his descriptions in this regard alluded to the idea that they most definitely did know. And then when you look at the Masonic boards and what they're showing with perspective and squares and compasses, you kind of, it's not, when you know, it's not a subtle hint, but only when you know, right? I remember seeing these Masonic boards and drawings when I first got here, and I didn't have the slightest clue what any of it meant. It all just seemed like, well, it's just a picture of some pillars and some checkerboards, and what the hell does any of that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Fast forward 7 years and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Because you can see all of the symbology in reference to what we talk about. So when it comes to...
No.
Go on.
But that's the point. They have accepted that they need a flat plane to take the measurement from. That's what the square is about.
Can your
dog
doesn't
mean they understand...
Your dog
they don't mean they understand the...
Your dog needs to go to the toilet. Got people in the chat saying, get him to walk his dog.
Yeah, something's whistling too.
I'm working on it. Hold on, I got to get the kids settled first.
Come on, it's the
safe from the dog. Bloody hell, what kind of dog is it?
Settled, not safe. Settled.
Settled,
It's
my
the
bad.
least you could do.
An Irish setter?
Okay.
No, he's inbred mutt.
Welcome to
Thanks for
What Dog
recognizing
Debate.
the caller, Chocolate.
I got you, brother.
Go, Chocolate.
Well, while he's sorting that, he'll maybe come back to the mic straight away, but if he doesn't, anybody else got any comments on this? So, John's position.
Yeah, I do.
Go on.
Yeah, I'm a Christian, obviously, and I believe God is sovereign, as the scriptures teach, and I believe it's all to plan because God's allowing it. And we know we have an arch enemy from the Christian point of view, and that's the fallen angel Lucifer, who's called the devil. And so these people who are worldly and into him rather than God, they have power. And the power they have will be taken away from them if the truth of all matters comes out. So they don't want to relinquish the power. But there's a greater plot behind everything, and that's the spiritual side. So when you say NASA or heliocentrism and all this, what's the purpose of these lies? It's to say we came from gunk and the big accident and the Big Bang. There's no God. And so if you unveil a flat earth, from my point of view, then all those books, all those departments in universities out the window. And everyone's going to say, why is government trying to take the role of God? I'm going to seek after God because I am somebody. I'm not some accident. So there's a lot more to it than just this thing. And we're just in this one part. There's other parts.
Okay, hold on. That goes
Well
to my
said.
point. That goes to my point, though, because if the devil is the father of lies, why is he telling these people the truth?
What people?
He wouldn't be.
You're saying
What
that...
people?
Right,
I
he
gotcha.
wouldn't be. He
I
wouldn't be.
see.
That's my point.
So you're saying that if you've been deceived, which we all were, and technically, therefore, if we were still, someone could point the finger at us, from this side, the flat Earth side now, and say, "There's a liar." And you go, "No, that's somebody who's been deceived," and you're expanding that out. Although I find this a little uncomfortable on this particular show, but fine. Out to the devil, and you're saying, "Well, if the devil has deceived these people, what on earth makes you think that he would have told them the truth when he's deceiving them, and they're just puppets working on his behalf, deceiving people with the lies they've been deceived with, potentially without even knowing it, or more likely than not, according to your argument, right?"
Right. And
Right,
even
well,
if it isn't him, even if it is just ignorance, how do you know that they're smart enough to realize they're ignorant?
Depends who they
Well,
are.
it's
And when
even-
they get... Well,
it's even
hold on, I'm going
within
to
the
defend that.
scripture.
I'll go on citation, please, sorry.
I was just saying, it's even within the scripture. The devil's plan isn't atheism. It's to declare himself to be God. So he needs the populace to believe in God so that he can become that God that they believe in.
Okay, we're getting off the beaten track a little bit.
Correct. No, but he's correct. It says it in Isaiah. He says, I will be like the Most High. That's his plan.
I'm sure.
Well, if you want to change someone's fate,
as much as I love to take this to an ethereal Satan that's pulling the strings of the men, the reality is there are men who we do deal with on a one-to-one basis here. And that's where I was going to jump in earlier. I will defend the fact that I call a lot of them liars. Because when you show them to be liars with demonstrated proof that they're lying, what else can you label them?
well, that doesn't necessarily mean they know the truth, though, just because they're liars.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I have to say that myself. Oh, I'm pointing out how you've been lied to. Well, what is the Earth? I don't know. I have no idea. I know one aspect of it. It's flat. That's it. Well, what's at the edge? What's the dome? I don't know. Just because I know where you've been lied to and deceived and misled doesn't mean I automatically know everything about the alternative. I don't. And I don't expect necessarily the people who are lying to us, who are essentially the same as us at one stage, to also be liars. Only the people who come here and actually lie can you label liars. And astronauts.
Nathan, I really like what you've said before, and I'm going to repeat it. They're the ones with the extraordinary claim. And those are many. They're wrapped up in the housekeeping questions. They're saying we're spinning. They're saying we're a ball. They're saying all these things. Where's the proof of these things? All we're saying is show it to me so I could believe your extraordinary claim. They can't show it. And this is where every man has their senses to go to. Your senses don't lie to you unless you're intoxicated, right? So the point is, we don't feel we're spinning, but they keep telling us we're spinning. How can you prove this? But we don't see curvature, but they're telling us it curves based on the radius of 3959. Black swan, no, it doesn't. And now we got the sextant saying that you can't even get an elevation angle unless you have a flat plane baseline under you, because you can't get a 90 degree from a curved surface. And all your altitude measurements must be subtracted from 90, which means you live on a plane.
Well, you're saying that, and they're coming back and saying, we don't want to hear what it's not anymore. We want to hear what it is. Tell us what it is.
I'm telling you what it is. We live on a plane.
Yeah, we're telling them, but they want to know other things.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly reasonable to have those questions. But at the point that you've been lied to, you then got to make a few critical decisions, haven't you? You've got to assess the people that have passed the information that's incorrect on to you and how much they're then worth to you. Now, that's obviously case by case and individual by individual. For me, people like NASA require zero attention from me at this point. You know, and we try and disseminate this to Neil and we say, well, why are you engaging with people who just want to ignore what you've put down to them 1,000 times? We know they're the audience, we know they've heard the arguments, and they just whistle past them and talk about how space is wonderful. All right, okay. Well, don't engage with those people, and when the people who you can label, like NASA, not NASA, astronauts who say they've been to space, as liars, just don't involve yourself with them. Don't assess them for how much truth they might have. Yeah? When a guy's standing in a stage saying he's in Narnia, yeah, and you figure out that Narnia isn't real and he's never been there and he's just been lying the whole time, do you automatically assume that that person can tell you what is on the other side of the house with the wardrobe in it? Well, no, they may never have been through the other side of that wall that was, you know, propping up the wardrobe. Because there is no Narnia. Doesn't mean they know what's on the other side of the wall either. They don't. But you're going to appeal to them and ask them because they've lied to you and stamp your fists going, tell us the truth then. It's like, why are you appealing to liars for the truth?
Why are you appealing to us for the truth either when we're just pointing out the lie?
Exactly. We're not professing to be scientists. None of us are saying that we've got all of the answers when we point out how the people who make the extraordinary claim, as in 10th point, don't back what they claim. It's an extraordinary claim to say that we will see things drifting away from us. That's Coriolis effect on an Earth that's turning. We need to actually see it. And us pointing out that we don't see it happening shouldn't come with a justification for why we don't see it. You fail to prove your extraordinary claim that we're spinning. When you say we'll see Earth curve and we go, what is it that we'll see? And they show you a horizon. And we say, no, the horizon is an Earth curve. It's beyond the geometric limitations laid down in your maths. How can it possibly be a physical obstruction to boats and buildings? Oh, it's a refracted, so it's not Earth curve. You know, they give up their argument in the first instance, and some of them have to lie about the premises that they're using to make those claims rather than justify them or show them to be true. Now, what do we claim here, specifically here? Don't stereotype me with, oh, this flat earther said that there's a dome. Well, I didn't. We point out how space is fake and that there's a necessary antecedent, an antecedent consequent relationship between gas pressure and containment. You've got to have it. Now, does that mean that I know what the sky is? No. I know that we're being lied to about what the sky is by astronauts who claim to have gone to Narnia, I mean space, which isn't a real place. Shout out to Julio Pabon, who says, no matter how cold it gets, you can always go to a corner and try to get warmed up. Why? Because corners are always 90 degrees. Boom, boom.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you,
that's
Julio.
my point. That's my point. It's so telling that they're saying these things like give us an answer. I mean, and we don't claim anything. I think
we
that's,
do.
I think that's the, wait a second. Let me finish. That's the beauty of us. We don't know what the sky is. We don't know what the sun is. And we don't claim to know what it is. But they
We do have
demand
one
answers. Yeah,
We
the
do
earth
have
is
a
flat.
claim. Yeah, that's it. We have a claim. And it's demonstrable. It's measurable. And you can use it to navigate with.
I
Indeed.
agree.
Yeah. So moving forward, given that we're now, I will agree, just for the sake of this discussion, that, yeah, maybe none of the higher-ups know, and if we ignore all Freemasonic activity and some of the discussions I've had with Chris, who claimed to be an ex-Freemason, I can put all that one side and say, well, nobody knows. We've all just carried on perpetuating a myth, a philosophy that we were born into. So even if you've managed to make your way high up in terms of that philosophical dissemination to the public, i.e. higher-ups like Neil deGrasse Tyson, doesn't necessarily mean they know that it's complete bollocks. Just means they've got caught up in it like everybody, and you'd be swept away as you were and encouraged because everybody else thinks the same in this particular time of, time of people's lives in the year of our Lord 2022.
Well, nobody knows what it is. It says it in Job chapter 38. Pretty much
I like
says.
And Nathan, who was the one with the 90-degree pun?
Julio Pabon. Thank you for the super chat again. Really appreciate the support.
Hey, Julio, I got a image in Master B. You missed one more to add to that.
Are you cold? Come sit in the corner. It's 90 degrees. That's a cute joke. Very good.
That's funny.
And I threw one for extra.
Never argue with a 90-degree angle. It's always right.
And God is always right. And in chapter 38 of Job, he pretty much says nobody knows what this is.
What's this? Be more specific.
Earth, where we dwell. Nobody could measure it. Nobody was there when it was created. That's basically what he's saying.
Well, he actually has a $10,000 challenge. He says, if you can tell me what it is, declare it.
Right, Brandon Cook from the chat says acute is less than 90. I think you're just being obtuse, Brandon.
Nice. I'm glad you gave it to him straight, Nathan. Meanwhile, forget 10,000. We got 3 Bitcoins that no baller can get. What's going on with that? That's a lot more than 10,000.
Yeah, what's up with that?
They came, they attempted, they failed. Haven't heard anything since.
And where is Mick Toons today? Is he going to get offended again because he waited till the end of the show to get on?
No, to be fair, to his credit, he went in the chat and he was like, I came on, you didn't unmute me. And I was like, yeah, my bad. I didn't notice you were there. He was like, and you ended early. I was like, well, actually, I ended late because I started late.
According to what Paul said, he
offered.
came in the last minute.
Yeah, but it would have been the last 10 minutes. Based on the time of the show, which is typically an hour in duration, they've started to strawman saying, you closed the show down early as soon as I got there. It's like, well, actually, no. I started the show 15 minutes late.
Eli, what would you offer?
Thanks. I was offered $10,000 to show where the globe model is inconsistent. So I said the horizon. I don't have $10,000 today.
Did you offer them $5 if they could show you a globe model?
Oh, I should have.
Why would you ask that,
Chocolate, how long are we waiting for that model, Chocolate?
No, hold on, let him have his moment. Why would you ask them that, Chocolate? Why would you ask? Why would you offer somebody $5 to present you a globe model?
Because I'd like to see the all-encompassing working globe model. I haven't seen that as of yet.
You're suggesting that they don't have a globe model?
I would suggest they have little bits and pieces and little stories and illustrations and diagrams that they put together and call that quote unquote the globe model. But that's all they got. They don't have a actual standard working globe model because it's not a globe. That's the problem.
That's true.
Bingo.
Well, even if it isn't, they still don't have one. They don't have a miniature one. They don't have anything.
Eli, explain to the audience why you said horizon.
Because on a globe, it's the geometric obstruction in which you can see no more land.
And if the Earth was a sphere with a geometric obstruction that would limit your view of the land in the distance, then every distance to that geometric limitation would be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And the black swan shows the horizon beyond the limitations of an Earth sphere radius 3959. Therefore, the horizon is not Earth curve, and you can't get an R value unless you've got a geometric tangent point to measure it with. So the Earth is not a sphere.
Go collect that $10,000 right now.
There is a model they ascribe to, though. It's just a flat plane model of a celestial sphere.
That's
the
true.
Equatorial plane model.
Yeah, but you don't take the measurements from the center of Earth. You take them from the surface. So it's
So
a
if you
flat,
take that
flat Earth
drawing,
model.
so if you took that drawing of the celestial sphere and the flat plane they put underneath it, but describe as being a measurement taken from the middle of a rock in the middle of a core, and point out to them that what we're actually doing when we measure this angle, though, is standing on the surface. So if we just ignore your stupid ideas that this diagram of an angle to something on a celestial sphere actually infers that the angle to the celestial sphere where the stars are is in fact the surface of Earth. Because where you're taking the measurement from in this depiction is on a plane in the middle of a dome with stars in it. That's how you are describing it. Now, the fact that, as I say, they will then say, no, that's because we've taken the angle measurement we got off a flat plane and put it at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth.
But that's not where they took the measurement.
They took them from the surface. So in that diagram, when you've got an angle being shown, you can assume that that is where the surface is most accurately represented. And in the diagram of a globe Earth with an equatorial plane and a dome of the heavens above it to measure the stars on with angles, that depiction, regardless of them assuming you are capable of standing in the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, is actually just a depiction of a flat plane with angles being measured on it. Doesn't matter that they fill it in with rock, you're actually standing on that plane that they draw and measuring angles to stars with it. That's where the angle goes to if they decide to put it in the centre of spherical Earth. Oh, no, you've got a plane in the middle of a diagram with a dome above it. That's where the measurement's going to, not out into infinity.
Right, and I'm working on my kitchen celestial sphere right now. That's one of the harder parts of the measurement.
Hey, are the stars all rotating around the Earth at a fixed distance?
I don't know. What I do know is when they reach...
So if you put that in a model, could you say that you're accurately representing reality? The answer is no. It's an ideal model. So it's not even a category that this is representing the Earth. It's just a modelic interpretation of the phenomena based on angles that you obtain from a flat plane. So the derivations from this model are not derivations from a presupposition that the Earth is a globe. It's a presupposition that you can use a model of spheres to do a transform and map yourself. So McToon's challenge is moot.
Yeah.
Because he has to deny that it's derived, that all of his models are derived from flat Earth in the first instance. And that's why his challenge is just a big charade. Because
Indeed.
he's basically saying you can't use maps, you can't use distances, you basically can't use anything that's derived from a quote unquote globe model, right? Because he's saying it's derived from the presupposition that Earth is a globe. But if you just go back one step and say, okay, I attained all these angles off a flat plane, then you're basically saying that all their globe stuff is derived from a flat plane. So it's impossible to win the challenge. It's just that simple. It's a moot challenge. It's nonsense.
Yeah, I keep saying this to commenters. When are you going to address McToon's challenge? We addressed it a month ago. He needs flat Earth elevation angles to lay the challenge down. So it is completely moot.
Well, I want to know when they're going to use globe Earth math to navigate my kitchen.
Certainly doable. Of course, you must accept that you've got those globe claimed to be navigation waypoints or whatever you're going to use. They're going to be derived from a flat plane in the first instance. Obviously, it would be useful if you had a methodology of measuring it on a flat plane and then repositioning the angle and changing the trig values from a flat plane measurement to double those values and say they don't work on a flat plane because they don't then match up. If you did that, you could then show that the flat Earth angle measurements you took from your flat plane to give you these values actually don't work on a flat Earth.
Nathan, I got 3 images showing the equatorial plane in contrast to the celestial sphere.
Perfect. So this line... Oh, wow, it's a GIF. Yeah, you've got this line that you're going to have to take the angle measurement from. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah, the first one's a GIF.
Very nice. Notice they've got in this GIF, it just gets rid of the sphere in the middle at some stage and just carries on focusing on the flat plane bit. I love it. Do you want me to move on to the next one?
Yeah, you could. So the celestial sphere, zenith, point on the celestial sphere directly overhead, neither point on the celestial sphere directly underneath, not visible. Celestial equator equals projection of the Earth's equator onto the celestial sphere. North celestial pole, projection of the Earth's north pole onto the celestial sphere. So in their celestial sphere, they've got north celestial sphere matching north pole and everything else, and celestial equator as well. And then, as you can see there in that transparent looking wafer plane right there at the equator, all their measurements come from a flat plane because they say they come from the center of a circle. Because guess what a circle gives you at the center, a vertex?
Right. So if this is the way you're going to measure something, and you're stood just by coincidence with 90 degrees to Polaris at your zenith, right? In this particular positioning. I don't know if that is actually just a zenith, but either way. When you measure a star, in this case it's showing you Venus, well, you can get the GP of that position. But you've got to have this great big flat plane disk ignoring all sphericity of this bit in the middle. Because the angles that you're going to take are going to work on this flat surface. Now this is when they say it's moving to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. The angle measurement comes from the centre. No, the angle measurement is you standing on this plane, because it can't be an angle measurement unless you stood on this plane. The sphere bit suddenly doesn't work and is a little raisin in the middle of the diagram of getting 90 degrees to Venus in this instance, if you were measuring it for the purposes of navigation, finding your position. So this celestial sphere doesn't work with this. It works with this big flat plane.
Next slide also.
Yep. Same thing. So you've got this plane. That's how you're going to do it. If you're taking an angle measurement, I don't know why they tipped it in this particular weird way, but either way, this would be 90 degrees to the flat plane. And any measurement that you take from your position, again, they can describe it as being from a presupposed spherical Earth, but to get the angle, you've got to be using it on the celestial equator and taking it out to a position that you've measured in the sky. Well, that angle measurement isn't from the centre, because it's going out potentially beyond the limits of a sphere Earth, as we described in the pre-show. You know, 4,000 miles on either side of you. Well, that's why you've got to use this great big flat plane, because the angle measurements won't work any other way. So this bit's completely redundant. Not needed. Not describing how you take an angle measurement. You need this bit, the flat plane.
Well, I wouldn't call it redundant. I would call it self-defeating, because if it was that, you wouldn't be able to get the angle measurement.
Indeedy weedy. It's been a good show again. Please share the show if you're watching live. Smash that share button. I'll actually keep
Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Go to the website.
Hey.
160 people watching. Excellent stuff.
Can I just before you round out, let me just say something. How many times have they applied 7/6R when it's things at the horizon that we see but shouldn't see? It's like always. But the minute we start talking about sextants, 7/6R suddenly vanishes and it's a straight line. Anybody notice that?
Yeah, Black Swan. Yes, first to do it here was Virus. Well, I got a straight line to the horizon.
Correct.
Black Swan. No, you haven't. You spent 2 years telling us it's refracted. What is it? No Atlo Day?
So just for those that are not sure, it's a direct conflict in terms, isn't it? It's a conflict in terms to say that the line to the horizon or the whatever the angle of elevation, if that's a straight line, then 7/6R doesn't exist. If it's a curved line, where do you get your curved adjacent from when it comes to measuring that angle? You can't do it, can you? I think ball earthers think that when you say, how do you get an angle from a curved adjacent, Nathan? I think they think that you've got the your protractor or your angle measuring device. I think they think that it's on the surface of the Earth. They don't realize that we're not talking about the shape of the Earth. We're talking about the angle itself. And if it's a curved line up to the horizon or the target that you're looking at, then you haven't got an ability to measure an angle to that, guys. It's a direct contradiction in terms.
Well, you have and you haven't. When you describe what you're doing with it, you're describing 90 degrees to the GP of the position below the star, from you to that position on the ground position. So at that point, you're definitely talking about a flat plane between you and whatever star you're measuring. When you minus from 90, get your co-altitude and calculate how far away it is to the GP of it. Well, the line to it along the ground's flat. Can't not be. The distances would all be messed up if they were curved, and you just assumed you got a flat line. Further to that, you'd have diverging zeniths. Well, they all need to be parallel. Again, that's how it works. So it can't work on a sphere. It has to work on a flat plane. That's how it's done.
Let's not forget that's already given too much credit. Because 7/6R light refraction is a category error in itself. It's an incoherent statement, and the conclusion is axiomatically false. Because they're trying to say it's about light, but it's really just changing the radius of the Earth.
Right. And they need to have a radius of the Earth to manipulate the radius with 7/6 of the radius, which is what terrestrial refraction is in standard format. So you've got to have R.
And they don't have it.
That's a paradox.
That 90 is twice, because you've got the observer with the sextant getting the angle to the star, and that star straight down to the GP somewhere on the Earth to the observer is a right angle. So there's 90 there. Then the observer takes that sextant measurement, the degrees, and only uses it to subtract from his 90, which is straight above him, and then shooting sideways all the way to the zenith of that original star. And there's a box up there. So you're in a box with two 90s to get your co-altitude. Yeah, because you've got a minus from your vertical angle, but you can't get your vertical angle on the boat because you don't have the bubble sextant to get your vertical angle. So what you do is you're going to get dip correction, and you're going to get an angle to the star, a right angle. Then you minus from your 90, and that's the distance times the nautical miles.
Right. Earth has to be flat for this to function. But with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels, first and foremost for making today's live show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in today's live stream audience for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. I normally do a bit of e-begging on these outros, but smash the PayPal link if you did want to support this channel. January and February are particularly difficult months on YouTube, so yes, please support the show by smashing the PayPal link in the info box below this video. If you are watching this show on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!